What if everything you thought about demons was only half the story? Welcome to the Shadow Kingdom, a hidden realm whispered about in myths, scriptures, and forbidden texts. Here, demons were not born evil. They were ancient beings of knowledge, power, and purpose, long before human history began. Their world was one of rules, hierarchies, and forgotten laws, until something changed, and they crossed into ours. In this video, we'll journey beyond fear and superstition to uncover where demons truly came from, why they fell from their original roles, and what their story reveals about humanity itself. The Shadow Kingdom Explained, where demons truly came from. For centuries, demons have haunted human imagination. From shadowy figures in the night to monstrous forces in sacred texts, they have often been painted as embodiments of evil, chaos, or moral corruption. Yet, the deeper we examine ancient scriptures, myths, and esoteric traditions, the more we discover a story far more complex and far more revealing than a simple dichotomy of good versus evil. To understand demons, we must begin in a place few humans have ever dared to explore: the Shadow Kingdom. The Shadow Kingdom is not merely a metaphorical concept or a poetic image of darkness. In the oldest surviving accounts, it is described as a parallel realm, a dimension adjacent to our own, inhabited by beings of immense intelligence, power, and autonomy. These beings were not created as malevolent entities. They existed long before human consciousness fully emerged, and their roles were intricate, functional, and essential. They were guardians, teachers, and keepers of knowledge that humanity was not yet ready to comprehend. In Mesopotamian mythology, for instance, spirits and demonic entities were often tasked with guarding sacred spaces, enforcing cosmic laws, or delivering judgment on behalf of higher powers. Similarly, in Jewish and Christian apocryphal texts, the Watchers, celestial beings tasked with guiding humanity, eventually transgress boundaries, resulting in their fall. Across cultures, a common thread emerges. These beings were initially neutral, even necessary forces, and their so-called evil is a later interpretation, born from fear and misunderstanding. The Shadow Kingdom, therefore, was originally a realm of order, governed by rules that were invisible yet immutable. It was not hell as later Christian theology would describe it, nor was it the chaotic underworld of Greek myth. Instead, it was a space where knowledge, energy, and intention converged, a realm that mirrored the complexities of the cosmos itself. The demons of this kingdom were experts in manipulation of these energies, capable of altering matter, influencing thought, and traversing dimensions. Their existence was neither benevolent nor malevolent by human standards. It simply was. The turning point in this history comes with interaction, specifically interaction with humanity. When early humans encountered these beings, they were not confronted with monsters, but with forces beyond comprehension. Their abilities to see the hidden currents of the universe, to command subtle powers, and to bend rules seemed miraculous and terrifying. Over time, these interactions were misinterpreted. Acts that were once guidance or protection became seen as interference or corruption. The Shadow Kingdom was no longer a distant, mysterious realm. It became a mirror of human fear. Textual evidence from the Book of Enoch offers one of the clearest accounts of this transition. The Watchers descended to teach humanity arts forbidden by divine law: metallurgy, astrology, magic, and knowledge of the heavens. These gifts, intended to advance understanding, were instead perceived as a disruption of the natural order. The human mind, still untrained in the subtlety of cosmic balance, began to label these beings as fallen or evil. This narrative shift from guardian to adversary is a pattern repeated in nearly every culture that records contact with supernatural entities. The transformation of perception highlights an important principle. Demons are, in many ways, a reflection of humanity itself. They reveal our capacity for awe, fear, curiosity, and moral judgment. When we describe demons as evil, we are often projecting our own inability to comprehend power without precedent. The Shadow Kingdom thus serves a dual purpose. It is both a literal realm in myth and a symbolic mirror of the human psyche. Understanding it allows us to reconsider what it means to confront forces that are unfamiliar, powerful, and uncontainable. The physical characteristics attributed to demons, horns, wings, serpentine forms, also stem from the limitations of human perception. Ancient humans often interpreted spiritual or energetic phenomena through the lens of the material world. A being whose true form was light, vibration, or thought might be described instead in terms of beasts, shadows, or hybrid creatures. This tendency to materialize the intangible is why demons appear monstrous in folklore, even though their original essence was neither monstrous nor malicious. The Shadow Kingdom itself is described as a landscape unlike anything in the human world. Some traditions speak of endless cities constructed from light and sound, while others describe barren plains of energy that shift according to the inhabitants' intent. Time flows differently here. Causality is mutable. Beings within this realm navigate not by locomotion alone, but by thought and will, able to manipulate perception and matter with subtlety. In such a place, human notions of morality, law, and limitation hold little meaning, which is why the arrival of humans, or human-like consciousness, creates disruption. Conflict arose when boundaries were crossed. In many mythologies, demons entered the human realm not out of malice, but because of curiosity, necessity, or error. These transgressions were later moralized into tales of temptation, possession, and corruption. The story of Lilith in Jewish folklore illustrates this dynamic. She was a being of equal intelligence and power to Adam, unwilling to submit to hierarchical constraints. She was cast as a demoness, yet her evil was framed by human discomfort with autonomy and dissent. Similarly, Greek myths describe spirits of the underworld acting according to their own rules, which humans interpreted as malicious because they opposed human desires. This pattern repeats across cultures. Entities from the Shadow Kingdom act according to logic, law, and instinct foreign to human experience, and humans translate these actions into moral judgments. In a sense, every demon myth is a case study in human misunderstanding, a cautionary tale about the consequences of projecting fear onto the unknown. The Shadow Kingdom becomes a repository not of malevolence, but of lessons about restraint, respect, and the proper use of knowledge. Another critical element of the Shadow Kingdom is hierarchy. Demons were never a monolithic mass of evil. They were organized into classes, ranks, and functions. Some were watchers, tasked with observation and instruction. Others were wardens, enforcing cosmic laws. Some were intermediaries, mediating between realms or carrying messages. Only when this structure was disrupted, through rebellion, error, or human interference, did chaos emerge. The fall of certain demons, therefore, is less a moral failing and more a reflection of instability within a system whose rules were not designed for human understanding. The Shadow Kingdom also played a role in the evolution of human consciousness. By exposing humans to knowledge, power, and moral dilemmas beyond their natural experience, it forced early humans to develop judgment, self-control, and ethics. In this sense, the demons were teachers as much as they were feared adversaries. Humanity's response to the Shadow Kingdom, fear, worship, avoidance, or defiance, helped shape civilizations, laws, and philosophies. The stories of demons are therefore not merely entertainment or superstition. They are records of humanity learning to navigate complexity and consequence. As civilizations evolved, the image of the Shadow Kingdom and its inhabitants changed. In the medieval period, demons were often portrayed as hellish creatures opposed to God's order, reflecting a cultural emphasis on sin and divine punishment. In modern interpretations, demons often embody psychological or moral challenges, symbolic of inner conflicts, addictions, or destructive impulses. Yet beneath these layers of interpretation remains the core truth. Demons originated not as evil, but as forces of power and knowledge, existing in a realm parallel to our own, whose rules differ from our own. Studying the Shadow Kingdom, therefore, has profound implications. It challenges simplistic moral frameworks, urges caution in the exercise of power, and illuminates the nature of fear itself. When we label something as evil, we must ask, is it inherently destructive, or is it simply beyond our understanding? The Shadow Kingdom teaches that judgment without comprehension is a source of chaos, and that knowledge without wisdom can be as dangerous as ignorance. Finally, the Shadow Kingdom reminds us that the line between human and demon is thinner than we think. In some myths, humans who gain forbidden knowledge or transgress moral boundaries are said to become demon-like. Conversely, demons who exercise restraint, respect, and guidance maintain their roles as watchers and teachers. In this sense, demons are a mirror. They reflect our potential for both destruction and wisdom. They are warnings, guides, and symbols of the consequences of how we use or misuse power. The Shadow Kingdom, custodians of power and knowledge. For most of human history, demons have been cast as symbols of pure evil, embodiments of chaos, and warnings against transgression. In literature, art, and religious texts, they appear as monstrous figures to be feared, avoided, or destroyed. Yet this common perception obscures a far more profound truth. The Shadow Kingdom, the realm from which demons emerged, was never simply a domain of malevolence. To understand these beings, we must look beyond morality, beyond fear, and into a realm where knowledge, power, and morality intersect in ways humans have long struggled to comprehend. The Shadow Kingdom is not a conventional place. It is a multidimensional space that exists alongside our reality, governed by principles distinct from human understanding. In this realm, time is fluid, space is mutable, and causality is not always linear. Its inhabitants, what we call demons, are not born evil. They are custodians of forces that predate humanity, forces that shape the universe itself. These entities operate according to laws and hierarchies designed to maintain cosmic balance, not to oppress or harm humans. They serve as regulators, teachers, and enforcers of rules that humans cannot yet fully grasp. The misconception that demons are inherently evil is a product of human projection. When these beings interact with humanity, their actions are filtered through the lens of human morality, which is inherently limited and culturally conditioned. A force acting according to cosmic law may appear destructive or malicious to an untrained observer, yet in the larger context, it is neither good nor evil. It simply is. Fear, misunderstanding, and the tendency to personify and moralize the unknown have created the narratives we now take for granted. Demons as tempters, oppressors, or monsters. Historical texts across cultures reinforce this interpretation. In Jewish apocryphal works, such as the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are described as angels tasked with observing and guiding humanity. Their fall is not a reflection of inherent wickedness, but of transgression against the limits of interaction. Similarly, Mesopotamian and Babylonian sources portray spirits and otherworldly entities as protectors, enforcers, or conveyors of knowledge. Greek and Roman myths likewise depict daimons, not devils, but intermediaries, as forces that influence human destiny, sometimes benevolently, sometimes destructively, according to the structure of their realm. Across these diverse traditions, the common thread emerges. Demons originated as functional neutral entities, not as embodiments of evil. Understanding the Shadow Kingdom requires a shift in perception. It is not enough to ask, are demons good or evil? The question itself is limited by human moral frameworks. Instead, we must consider, what is their function? What purpose does their power serve? In the Shadow Kingdom, power and knowledge are intertwined. Demons maintain the equilibrium of energy and information, ensuring that forces neither overwhelm nor stagnate. Some act as gatekeepers of cosmic wisdom, others as enforcers of laws that preserve balance. Their actions, whether incomprehensible, intimidating, or disruptive to humans, are rooted in the logic of their realm, not in malice. The idea that demons are teachers or custodians becomes clearer when we examine their interactions with humanity. In many ancient accounts, humans received knowledge from these beings that was forbidden, dangerous, or simply beyond immediate comprehension. Metallurgy, astrology, mathematics, magical practice, all are said to have been transmitted by entities from the Shadow Kingdom. This knowledge, while transformative, also carried risks. Humanity was not yet equipped to wield these powers responsibly, and the tension between human curiosity and cosmic law set the stage for conflict. It was not that the demons sought to harm humans. It was that humans, unprepared for such forces, misused, misunderstood, or feared them. Fear has always been a powerful lens through which the Shadow Kingdom has been viewed. Human consciousness tends to interpret unknown forces in terms of threat, and the unfamiliar becomes dangerous by default. A being that can traverse dimensions, manipulate energy, or influence perception challenges every instinct we have for survival and control. Early humans were confronted with entities whose abilities far exceeded their own, and in the absence of comprehension, narratives of malevolence emerged. By framing these beings as evil, humans created a story they could process, even as they misrepresented the true nature of the Shadow Kingdom. The multidimensional nature of this realm further complicates our understanding. The Shadow Kingdom is often described as a landscape that shifts according to thought, intention, and energy. Cities of light, endless planes of vibratory matter, and realms where time flows unpredictably are all part of the descriptions preserved in ancient texts. These spaces are not static. They respond to the beings who inhabit them and to those who enter from other realms. In such a context, actions that seem chaotic to an outsider are often the natural functioning of a highly ordered system, one that requires precision, awareness, and adherence to rules beyond human comprehension. Hierarchies within the Shadow Kingdom are also central to understanding its denizens. Demons are not a homogeneous mass of destructive energy, but a structured society with ranks, roles, and responsibilities. Some act as watchers, observing and recording the flow of energy and knowledge. Others serve as wardens, enforcing laws that maintain stability across dimensions. Certain beings function as intermediaries, bridging the human and non-human worlds. Only when this intricate structure is disrupted, through rebellion, misuse of power, or human interference, does chaos appear, giving rise to the perception of malevolence. The perceived fall of demons is less a moral collapse and more a reflection of instability in their environment or misalignment with cosmic rules. When a being steps beyond its proper function, interacts improperly with humans, or misjudges the consequences of its actions, disorder occurs. Humans, observing this disorder without understanding its origins, label it evil. Stories of temptation, possession, and corruption often stem from these moments of misalignment, rather than from an inherent nature of malice. Studying the Shadow Kingdom also illuminates the moral and philosophical lessons embedded in human culture. By encountering entities whose power and knowledge surpass our own, humans were forced to develop ethical frameworks, self-restraint, and discernment. The narratives of demons functioned as mirrors, reflecting human limitations, fears, and potential for growth. Every cautionary tale, every moral lesson embedded in demonology, is ultimately a study in how humanity interacts with the unknown, the uncontrollable, and the extraordinary. In this way, demons are teachers as much as they are symbols of fear. Psychologically, the shadow kingdom can be interpreted as an externalization of human shadow, the hidden aspects of our psyche. Just as demons represent forces beyond comprehension, our own internal demons are unrecognized drives, desires, and impulses that shape behavior. Confronting the shadow kingdom, then, is analogous to confronting ourselves, learning to navigate complexity, manage power responsibly, and integrate knowledge without being consumed by it. The overlap between external myth and internal reality is profound, demonstrating that the story of demons is inseparable from the story of human consciousness. In exploring this realm, one must also reconsider the physical depictions of demons. Horns, wings, serpentine forms, and monstrous features are often symbolic rather than literal. These traits emerge from human attempts to render incomprehensible phenomena into something tangible. Energy, thought forms, and multidimensional beings are difficult for the human mind to visualize, so metaphors and hybrid imagery were used to communicate the essence of what was being perceived. What we see as monstrous, then, is often a projection of human limitation, fear, and imagination. The interaction between humans and the shadow kingdom also catalyzed cultural and technological advancement. Knowledge imparted by these beings, whether in the form of tools, rituals, or abstract understanding, was transformative. Civilizations that integrated this knowledge responsibly often flourished, while misuse or misinterpretation led to decline, chaos, or moral panic. The duality of opportunity and danger inherent in these interactions mirrors the duality of power itself. It is neither inherently good nor evil, but its consequences depend on those who wield it. Modern reinterpretations of demons continue this pattern. Today, demons are often seen as psychological archetypes, representing inner conflict, addiction, obsession, or moral struggle. While the context has shifted from cosmic to personal, the underlying principle remains. The shadow kingdom embodies forces beyond immediate comprehension, and the human task is to navigate them wisely. The lessons of restraint, responsibility, and discernment are timeless, whether applied to ancient realms, societal structures, or the human mind itself. The story of demons, therefore, is inseparable from the story of humanity learning to engage with the unknown. It is a narrative about the consequences of power, the challenge of knowledge, and the necessity of moral awareness. Demons are neither rewards nor punishments. They are custodians, mirrors, and teachers. Their existence challenges humans to expand their understanding, confront their limitations, and evolve ethically and spiritually. Fear and reverence alike are responses to the same truth. The shadow kingdom operates according to laws beyond ordinary comprehension, and its custodians are both a guide and a test. Even today, remnants of the shadow kingdom persist in myths, dreams, and cultural memory. Ghosts of its influence are visible in literature, art, and spiritual practice, reminding humanity that the unknown is not always malevolent. By studying these entities and the realm they inhabit, we gain more than historical or mythological insight. We gain understanding of ourselves, our fears, our potential, and the invisible forces that shape our world. The Shadow Kingdom serves as a reminder that the universe is vaster, stranger, and more intricate than our perception allows, and that true wisdom lies in recognizing the limits of knowledge while striving to expand them responsibly. Ultimately, the narrative of the Shadow Kingdom reframes what it means to confront demons. They are not monsters to be vanquished, but forces to be understood, respected, and integrated into human experience. They are evidence that morality is contextual, knowledge is powerful, and the unknown is an opportunity for growth rather than merely a threat. By embracing this perspective, humanity can navigate the interplay between knowledge, power, and morality with greater clarity, avoiding the mistakes of the past while learning from the lessons embedded in ancient myth and cosmic law. In conclusion, the Shadow Kingdom is not simply a realm of monsters or malevolent spirits. It is a multidimensional space where knowledge, power, and morality intersect in ways humans have long struggled to understand. Demons did not originate as evil. They originated as custodians of forces beyond human comprehension. Their perceived malevolence is a product of misinterpretation, fear, and human projection. By studying the Shadow Kingdom, we gain more than a mythological understanding. We gain insight into ourselves, our history, and the shadows that shape our world. The story of demons is, at its core, the story of humanity learning to navigate the unknown, balance power with responsibility, and confront the consequences of knowledge without wisdom. The Shadow Kingdom remains a vital concept for modern humanity. It invites reflection on the nature of fear, the ethics of knowledge, and the responsibility inherent in power. It challenges us to see beyond appearances, to question assumptions, and to explore the unknown with courage and discernment. In understanding the custodians of the Shadow Kingdom, we confront not only the mysteries of the universe, but also the deeper truths within ourselves, discovering that the greatest battles and the greatest lessons often lie within the intersection of the human and the unknown. The story of the Shadow Kingdom isn't just about demons. It's about the delicate balance between power, knowledge, and responsibility. What began as guardianship became obsession, and what was once a realm of order became a reflection of chaos. By understanding where demons truly came from, we glimpse not only their world, but our own shadows, our fears, desires, and the choices that shape us. Thank you for joining this journey into the hidden corners of myth and history. If you enjoyed uncovering the truth behind the Shadow Kingdom, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to explore more ancient mysteries with us.